move it along with Trey Lance at quarterback. What would be the biggest offseason need at this point, Danny? Would you go somewhere in the secondary or maybe the whole secondary?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I looked. I looked at, secondary across the board with either defensive back or free safety. We saw the dropped interception from Tart, which is just a heartbreaker. He's not going to be able to sleep for a long, long time thinking about that. But you look at the struggle they had against teams in the past, really struggled, and they've got the ability to pressure guys up front. They should be getting better production here. And I would think John Lynch, a former safety himself, will try to address this position of need and look at it and say, you know what, we're missing just a couple more pieces and we can fine-tune this roster and make this defense one of the better units across the NFL.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that the secondary is a problem for the 49ers. They got some guys they're going to have to figure out. Running back, you can look at that too, and with Mostert and Jeff Wilson leaving, and point out that maybe they need some help there. But they did draft Trey Sermon. Elijah Mitchell looked very good. I think it's the secondary though. I mean, this is is the weaker part of that unit. And assuming that D'Amico Ryans didn't end up being hired elsewhere, you would like to bolster it a bit by bringing in some secondary help to improve that defense and maybe to put you in a spot where you can be a little bit closer to the team that made the Super Bowl run a few years ago.
Danny, if you're looking to add some pieces to the secondary there, who might be some free agents that they could look after?
So this is kind of an exercise where we're just looking at it and saying, all right, who are the best available guys that are out there, and who knows what their respective teams are going to do with them in some spots. Maybe they return, but I look at a J.C. Jackson and kind of the breakout season he's had for the Patriots. And if you go to, able to steal somebody from Belichick, I think that makes a ton of sense. A Tyrann Mathieu, a team that, we just, a guy who's been an incredible pickup for Kansas City, but I think they'd be crazy to let him move on. But then a Marshawn Lattimore, a player who's on a team in the Saints that are having some cap issues, maybe a little bit more likely that you could take a shot at him. But I think J.C. Jackson he'll probably be the most sought after corner in this market. He'd be one of the first guys I would call clearly.
Grades, guys. We asked you to give a season grade to this team. Going into the season, I would guess that most people would pick them for, at best, a playoff contender. Now, there were some that said, yeah, they could compete in the division. Maybe they'll be a factor, but I don't think many saw them getting to this point on the brink of the Super Bowl in the NFC. Will, what grade would you give the Niners for the season?
They were my Super Bowl pick before the season. But, you know what? I was going to go with the Rams until John Breach tried to jump on the bandwagon and then scared me off. And I should have spited him and gone Rams-Bengals, and I'd look like a genius right now. At any rate, I give the 49ers an A- here. I think that they did a pretty good job, especially considering they were 3-5, looked like they were down and out. You saw it on the broadcast that Fox put up during the game. A ton of headlines, Wilson and Breach were putting Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat. They closed out 9-3, and the defense stepped up in a huge way. Jimmy Garoppolo played a lot better, and I think they figured some things out. Certainly a pivotal offseason coming up, but because of this run that they made, it's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure that might have been on Shanahan and John Lynch. Going with a young quarterback in Trey Lance next year, I think they're set up for the future pretty well, and I give them an A-.
I went B+, so similar lines. And to me, what's probably most impressive is I remember a lot of those conversations. It wasn't that long ago where Kyle Shanahan was on the hot seat, and John Lynch too. I mean, this is the tandem that came in together to build this roster, and when it flat out wasn't looking like it was working, they could have panicked and gone to Trey Lance and said, all right, we're going to start looking for the future. But they kept the locker room. That, to me, is always something that you look for over a win-loss record is, well, how does the team responding? And they kind of kept grinding because the NFL schedule is a grind, even more so now with 17 games. And they clawed their way back, and they were able to win with Jimmy Garoppolo, which, he's one of the more polarizing topics that out there. But they really did maximize his abilities on the back end of the season, and then it just became too much of an issue in the playoffs. But I think it was a B+ from a team that looked like it could have fallen apart at the seams, 7 or 8 games in, and then to completely turn it around, be that close to going to a Super Bowl and actually putting up a really good performance against the Rams. I think it's a solid B+.
All right, a B+ and an A- from the guys on the San Francisco 49ers. Will picked them to go to the Super Bowl before the season. I would have called you crazy then, but you came close. Maybe make an interception, and they might be there. Let's recap the season for the 49ers and just say, you know what? Pretty good. Pretty good, not quite. Maybe Trey Lance can get you over the hump. Will Brinson's got the Pick Six podcast They are going to be live at the Super Bowl starting next week. Download and follow the pod today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.